Hello YouTube, this is Neon. The title of my talk today is going to be the California solar panel scandal. I'm going to talk about what little I know about California politics and talk about a little bit about national politics as well. So I had seen a news article some years ago about a lot of money that the federal government had given to California so that solar energy could be taken advantage of more. And I believe the intention was that homeowners would be able to take this money in the form of rebates and they could buy solar panels for their homes. What that would do is reduce the cost of their electric bill by up to 80%. Who wouldn't want that? What California politician, right, state politician, wouldn't want that for their constituents if they are truly in favor of their constituents? There has been a long-time accusation against our state government that our state government essentially is owned by the utility companies, and that our state government does what benefits these very, very wealthy and powerful utility companies. I'm not going to say I know this for a fact. I'm going to say that this accusation has been made. I've heard this made in the media more than once. What our state government did, according to this news report, was instead of giving that money to homeowners in the form of rebates so that they could buy solar panels for their home, they gave this money to the utility companies, to the electric companies, so that they could build these big solar power plants in Nevada, and they could channel or move that electricity from Nevada to California. One of the first accusations of that, of course, was that these companies were wealthy already. Let's give them more money, right? They're powerful, they own the government in our state, and our state is going to do their bidding. Another problem with that is that it's less cost effective to have these big solar power plants in Nevada and then shipping this electricity over the state. It's less economical than just giving the money to homeowners so that they can have solar panels. That's another accusation. Two, another accusation is that these large solar power plants, these electricity generating plants from solar power, they use a lot of harsh and dangerous chemicals compared to what risk or what chemicals are used in the solar panels that are placed on top of people's homes. The risks are much less should they break, should a natural disaster happen, whatever, that in terms of harmful chemicals being spilled into the environment. They're just much less dangerous, the ones that are above people's homes. So if these accusations are all true, it just goes to show that we're really not a two-party system in this country. We are a one-party system. As a Republican and Democrat, who were both sort of pariahs in their party, had said some years ago, we're the party of money. We are the party of money. And that's what this scandal would seem to suggest. It's interesting because California is a very progressive state. Our state government it's like 70% Democrat. It's almost as Democrat as Texas's state government is Republican. And yet they pull this BS on us Californians ripping us off and giving money to the utility companies who are already wealthy, right? Complaining that there's not enough electricity. Please, we get this in California all the time. Now they're saying turn your air conditioners to 80 degrees. 80 degrees is not that comfortable. What are they going to say next? Turn your air conditioner to 85, then 90? Well, like, how hot are we supposed to get before we can use our AC? This could have helped alleviate a lot of that. I heard briefly, and this is very briefly, very superficially, that some of this was being taken care of and that some homeowners in California are being able to take advantage of these rebates from the federal government, because the initial expenditure for a homeowner for solar panels is like tens of thousands of dollars. So the average homeowner doesn't have that extra money to fork out, which is why most of it really needs to be subsidized by the federal government. So I'm hoping that this situation doesn't continue. I don't know if these huge solar power plants are still being built, really to the chagrin of California taxpayers. I don't know if they're still being built, and I don't know if that money is still being, that federal money is still being funneled to California utility companies. I don't know. I have not researched it, and I heard this story a couple of years ago, but I think it's unfortunate. I believe that we as progressives, we tend to see progressives as the good guys and conservatives as the bad guys. And then if you're a social conservative, it's the opposite. But I don't know if that's the case. I believe that both parties worship money. They are the party of money, and it just depends on where that money comes from. So, and that's the only difference. But hopefully this situation will change. And when these funds will not be going to these wealthy, powerful utility companies here in California, the third largest state in our nation, the most populated state in our nation by like 10 or 12 million. We have like 10 or 12 million more people, more Californians, than there are Texans. And to the extent that California state government is owned by the utility companies, my hope and prayer is that something happens so that their hold on our government, their influence on our government is released, and they don't have this influence anymore. Part of the problem is that our state capital is in Sacramento, and most of our state's population is in Southern California, so it's not easy for us who live, 400 miles away from the Capitol, to get up there and to protest and to hold them accountable. Some people have toyed with the idea of moving the state capital to Los Angeles County, where we have about 25% of the state's entire population. But I don't think that's liable to happen. Even the proximity of Sacramento to the Bay Area is really, it's fairly difficult. It's fairly distant even from the Bay Area. It's a fairly isolated area. Although Greater Sacramento is probably over 1 million, the city of Sacramento is like 1/3 of 1 million. So I don't know what's going to happen. I wish for the best. If people understood that they can enrich their lives much more by giving money away freely to other people, where they don't get anything back in return, meaning they don't get influence, they don't get worshipped, they don't get to place demands on the people that they've helped. If they understood that would enrich their life so much more than trying to satiate their greed, the world would be a whole better place. I mean, the Bible says that the love of money is the root of all evil. It says that for a reason, beyond the fact that it's true. But I believe it implies that if we would get rid of the greed, if we could purify ourselves of the love of money and of the greed to get more money, probably all sin would die, because we would kill sin at the root. The thing is that with the love of money and with greed for money, it's insatiable. It's insatiable. It was tough for me to see my favorite progressive movie stars and singers who I'm not going to name, to see them get richer and richer every year. And then to realize that they're considered philanthropists because they throw $1 million here or $1 million there, but each year they're worth 20, 30, 40 million dollars more until they become billionaires. So they seem to be throwing many more millions to themselves than what they're throwing other people. So I thought they don't deserve to be called philanthropists. And progressives, these progressive entertainment rich and super rich, they seem to be trapped by the love of money and human greed for money as well, which is insatiable, which is why, in my opinion, they need to get richer and richer every year. They're never going to be satiated, and they're never really going to have the blessings of being a true philanthropist, which is giving half or giving more than half of your money away. When you're worth hundreds of millions, you can afford to do that. They're never going to have the wholeness and the fullness and all of the immaterial wealth that only comes from giving freely unto others without receiving anything back in return. They continue to commit the sin of omission, which is not use their money to help other people. And with all of the poverty and desperation and hunger and homelessness and drug addiction, there's too much need that no wealthy person can claim to not be aware of. Human greed and the love of money. And I suppose that may be what many of these news reports who make these accusations against our state government would say they suffer from. The love of money and human greed. And therefore they become puppets to these powerful utility companies who have all of this money. So that's the essence of my talk. If you like my talk, please like, subscribe, share, comment, watch a commercial, recommend my videos, do one or more of those things. Thank you. Best wishes.